Blood is thicker than water, but peace is more important than blood.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. Do not allow yourself to become hostage to the belief that you must deal with disrespect just because someone is your family member.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
forgiveness doesn't mean things go back to normal. Please, please, please elaborate on that some more with us, Kiki.
Just because I choose to forgive you doesn't mean that, let's say that you completely, I can't even think of an example,
Mm-hmm.
but something else, private information of mine. If I have
Mm,
a relative that just spreads that information to other relatives
yeah,
and you choose to apologize to me, I can say I forgive you.
right,
But the forgiveness is more so for me so that I
right.
can have my peace. But that
Yeah,
doesn't mean that I trust you the same way that I once trusted you before. Things are not quote unquote normal because I
yeah.
chose to forgive you.
What's going on, brunch guests? Welcome to the Brunch with Kiki and KC podcast, where we're serving up real, raw, empowering food and drink for thought while chatting about life, relationships, and providing perspectives which could make a difference in your life now. My name is KC.
And I'm Kiki.
And we are so excited to have you as our weekly brunch guests and share great conversation with you. We want to encourage you to subscribe, like, comment, and share this podcast. Share it with your family and friends, co-workers, and whoever you like. We're always dropping gems, and you never know who could benefit from what we discuss. Also, please remember to click on the link in the show notes section of the podcast, or if you're listening to us on YouTube, please click on the link in the description section to get your free copy of the major points we discuss in every podcast episode. This way, if you're listening to us while driving or multitasking, you don't have to worry about missing any of the major points we are sharing with you. Also, please feel free to leave a comment and let us know what you learned from this particular episode. We'd love to interact with you, so definitely look forward to hearing from you. For today, we are wrapping up our last episode in the Get Your Mind Right Brain Viagra series. We are so excited to discuss our topic today, in which we're focusing on family and navigating familial relationships. But first, we want to ask the question of the day. And today's question of the day is, how involved should family be in your life? Kiki, how involved should family be in your life?
Involved enough to be there to help when you need some help, but you need to fall back a bit when it comes to trying to control what people are doing, especially if they're living a healthy life and you want to get all up in the business. Like, yeah, you might want to fall back a bit and just enough to be helpful. Like my mom will always say, if I can't help you, I'm not going to harm you.
I like that.
That's where I'm going with that.
I like that. And I agree. I know that there are families out there that, you know, they feel very close to one another, and sometimes they feel like if they're not in each other's business, that somehow they feel left out. But I agree. I feel like your involvement should maybe only be as much as it needs to be. So there are times in which you know a certain, and it depends on the individual. So if you know that you have a sibling or, you know, some type of family member that you know that that is just not something that they welcome for you to be in their business, then don't be pushy. You know what I mean? Don't push. However, if you have, and then it depends on the kind of relationship you have with each particular person, because each person is not the same. So if you have a tighter relationship with some, then sometimes it's a particular family member, then sometimes it's easier to, you know, give your 2 cents on how you feel or what you think, but then fall back from the ones that, you know, that doesn't work for them, for you to seem like you're quote unquote butting in. But I will just say this, all bets are off, in my opinion, when it comes to somebody being physically harmed. I don't give a horse's ass. If you're being physically armed, I don't care if you see it as me being in your business. I'm going to get in there and I'm going to say what I got to say. And in the end, I know it's still going to be up to you to do whatever you got to do. But if I have to call the police or if I have to go tell, I will talk. Because your life is at risk or in danger. I don't play all of that. I don't care about that. We don't have to be friends, but I'll do my job as a family member.
Yeah, that's definitely that is the best way to go.
Mm-hmm.
I also think about like the word family. Obviously, you're thinking about people that you're related to.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you're related to somebody doesn't mean you really know them.
Yeah.
And for those family members who feel like, oh, but I'm your auntie. I'm being shady right now by saying auntie.
Hey, say it. Say it.
But hey, I'm the auntie and I just want to know what's going on in your life. If I don't know you, mind your business. You shouldn't be involved. If you're like a distant aunt who or uncle or cousin who I've probably seen like 2 times in my life.
Right.
That you're that person that should not be that involved.
Right.
In what is going on in my world, unless, like you said, when it's something that's like your life is in danger, that's different.
Right.
But if you're just trying to be nosy and gossiping, you don't need to be involved. Mind your business.
Exactly. Absolutely.
So that's a good way for us to move into like, hey, what's family? You know, we know family equals family that you were born into, like your immediate relatives, your extended relatives. And like I already mentioned, the stranger, quote unquote, stranger relatives. Then there's also the family that you create or you gain. You could gain those families, the family through marriage, through dating, or having children.
Yes.
Family looks and means something different to everybody. So just know that we're talking about family and however it may mean, however way you define it. That's what we're talking about today.
That's a very good point. And like a lot of the time, I'm just thinking about in my own life, like for me, and she's not on this earth with us now, but for me personally, the closest aunt that I have was not somebody that was blood related to me. It was somebody that my mother met on her first teaching job and befriended, and that was a friendship that spanned 40 plus years. And that person was my auntie, never forgot her birthday, was actually asking me questions about my friends and my life and things like that, versus maybe another blood related auntie who, I might get a birthday card here and there, but doesn't really know much about me. And I felt closer to that person that was an auntie friend. And that person had a very, very, big impact on my life and just in everything. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Like, sometimes the family is the family you choose as well. Like you were saying, it's what you can make it.
Amen. So we really want to talk about, like Casey mentioned, we're talking about how we're navigating familial relationships. One of the biggest things that we need to do in our families is teach our own relatives how to treat us.
Oh yeah. And as you say that, I feel like a lot of people don't think of it that way. You just kind of feel like, well, I'm born into this family and we just do what we do. And this is just how we are. This is just how we are. And it's like, no. Within each family, you're an individual person as well. And you're growing into yourself. And, just like the interactions that you have with strangers, and in which you have to have mutual respect, watching certain things that you do and how you interact, I don't feel like that's anything different from family. And like you said, you teach others how to treat you. Same thing goes for family. So that's definitely, I'm glad we're getting into this topic today.
And part of us teaching our family how to treat us has a lot to do with what we do and the things that we say. So like, what are the things that you're saying to your relatives? Are you somebody that's being very shady? Are you making comments that show that you're not really uplifting and inspiring your own relatives? I think about the things that you do. Are you actually trying to physically fight your own relatives? Like, are you teaching them to treat you like you're somebody that they shouldn't respect because you're being disrespectful in the things that you're saying. You're being disrespectful in the things that you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people don't realize like how much of an impact that it makes. And one thing that I'll say is like, even if it's a parent doing it, okay, I know certain people that have grown up in which their own parent, right? And yeah, you know, especially those of you out there that are Christians, you know, you might even struggle with what the Bible says about honoring your mother and your father. What if it is your mother or your father who's the shady boots gossiper?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? How do you navigate that, right? How do you deal with the fact that it's your own mother, caretaker person who is being disrespectful towards you in a way that if others see it, then they may feel like they can do and get away with the same kind of thing. It's very challenging, especially when it's somebody that is not a sibling, but your parent that you're supposed to respect.
Yeah, it's a hard position to have to be in when you have to teach your own parents to be like respectful of you. Yeah, like, I mean, it makes me think about the next point where, you know, the way you show your family that, you know, you're not going to tolerate the shenanigans, pretty much.
Right.
Because the way that you want to be treated, you want people to treat you the way that, you know, you would treat them. But what do you do in a situation when you have that parent piece is sticking out to me because I could think about a number of people who have parents that are very shady and ridiculous.
Absolutely.
And it's a hard position when you're treating them with respect and then they're not treating you with respect, and the attitude is, well, I'm your mom, I'm your dad, I can kind of get away with that. No, you can't. So how do you navigate getting to that point where you could actually tell your parent, no, you cannot treat me like that, without them trying to guilt you into feeling like, you know what, you're being a sinner. You're not honoring your parent.
And it's so hard, especially there's certain things like I realize that it's going to be more difficult. Like if you're a kid, you're a teenager, sometimes you just have to swallow these things.
Yes.
Sometimes you have to swallow these things because you know that you depend on you're living in this person's house. You depend on this person to have a roof over your head and food to eat. So there's certain times in which you have to swallow, but then once you reach of a certain age, right? Then I think that it's fair for you to be able to speak up for yourself. And you can mention, you've always done these things to me. I never appreciate it, you know? But one thing that I do want to say, and I think about like some things that my mother has told me about her own upbringing, which is, and it's harder for some than for others. If you're someone who has a very strong will, there are some children that are just born with a very strong will, right? So somebody gossiping about them or saying something mean to them, whether it's a parent or a sibling, something is inside of them that says, you know what, you're a liar. Even if they don't say it out loud, what you're saying is not true. I am worth something. And they have that ability to self-will themselves and tell themselves the right thing. But there are some that maybe don't have that strong will. And to those, I would say to you, hang in there and try to find a way to say, you know what, that's their opinion. That doesn't mean you have to take that on. That doesn't mean that you have to now have it affect your self-esteem. And no, it's easier said than done. I know that. I do understand that. But you have to understand that if you hang in there, there will come a day where you will get your freedom and you will get a chance to speak your mind fully, so to speak.
And if we, you know, to the younger viewers, if we, you know, if we have some young ones listening, when you're in a position where you feel like you can't say something to your parent, lean on a trusted adult in your life that you can talk to, who can help you if they could possibly be a mediator in those situations. Yes, there you may run into the issue of the parent being like, why are you bringing my business up to everybody else? But you still have to be able to get some support. Find some way to get some support. If that means, you know, like we talk about journaling, support can look different. But we definitely don't want to encourage you to be trying to curse out your mama and your daddy when you're 15 years old. Like, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, even when you're 20, 35 years old, you don't want you cursing out your mama and your daddy.
No.
It's really just a matter of, like we're saying, teach your family how to treat you. They're not going to know how to treat you. They should know. I'm not going to say they're not going to know. Some people choose to play ignorant.
Yes.
But let's say, just for this conversation, they're quote unquote not going to know how to treat you unless you tell them. If you don't want them to disrespect you, you can let them know in the most respectful, intelligent, yet firm and assertive way. I didn't appreciate what you said about me.
Yeah.
And if they continue to disrespect you, then you have to make the choice to choose to remove yourself from people, because the reality is that is a choice that sometimes you have to make when it comes to family.
Yeah. And I love how you kind of help to clarify that even when you are older and you're in your 20s and you're not a child anymore, that respect factor should still be there even when you're trying to express yourself as to the way you feel disrespected by that person. Because unfortunately, no matter how much anger is behind what may have been said or what has been done to you that's been disrespectful, you have to think about it like this. How would you want somebody to come to you? Come to that person in that way.
And it takes some time.
It does.
It may take work, because sometimes people grow up with a lot of anger towards their parents, and sometimes they can't help it. It comes out. But when you know better, you do better.
Yeah.
So this is our way to encourage the do better.
Yeah.
Now that you know that you may you lose a lot of people. Actually, not even that you lose a lot of people. Your message will get lost, depending on your delivery.
Yes.
And if the goal is to help that person understand that they're disrespecting you, you don't want them to have the response of, why you cursing at me? Instead of, wow, I really been doing that to you all these years. Like, don't get your message lost.
Yeah, because like you said, they'll just hear the curse words in the anger. You're yelling at me, you're shouting at me, you're cursing me, you're calling me a B or whatever. They're not going to get the whole reason why you're coming to them and the things they're doing wrong. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. And that, like you're saying, the things you say, the things you do, are you physically trying to fight them? Have you gone to physical altercations with your family? None of that is going to, like they say, two wrongs don't make a right. None of that is going to help the situation. When you're putting hands on one another, it's not going to get your point across. They're not going to hear you.
So, and we already know that conflicts exist in families.
Absolutely.
That's just a given. Conflict exists in any dynamic. But the question is, how are you reacting to the family conflicts? How are you reacting to inappropriate behavior that's coming from relatives? How are you reacting to a relative that's being unfair to someone? Because your reactions, or as you say, I want you to speak on this piece. Now, there's a reaction piece, but there's another piece that matters too.
Yeah, there's the part of when to react. I almost want to say, is it maybe better to know how to pick your battles, right? Because, or if you pick, I'm going to battle, how you're going to do it. So for example, you may react sometimes in a way in which you say, okay, I'm going to express myself today. The time is right. The moment is right. I know what's happening. I know how to express myself. I know how to put my feelings into words that I feel may be heard or received by the other person. You may choose to speak that day. Or you may choose to just stay silent in the midst of the storm. And I think that there is strength in that a lot of people don't realize. Staying silent in the storm. There's strength in that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just so important, because I feel like if you feel like reacting in that moment is just going to exacerbate it, just going to take things up another level, make it go way, way more left than it needs to be, sometimes it's best to just be quiet. Just being honest. And then later on, just let it be and say, you know what? I choose not to fight this time. Even though I'm pissed off, I choose not to say anything, because in the overall scheme of things, it may not be worth it to say anything in this instance.
Yeah.
It's not about winning or losing necessarily. It's about what's best for that moment. What is best for that moment? To just walk away, yeah, sometimes that takes a lot more. Matter of fact, I would say it takes a lot more strength to walk away a lot of the time than to just be like, wow, and say everything you need to say. So I think that there's value in being able to discern and decide and make a decision and say, I choose not to say something in this instance, or I choose to say something in this instance. Because the point is that no matter what you choose to do, you want the message to be received. And sometimes a message of silence is very strong, and people can feel that. Okay? People can feel that sometimes more than when you say something.
And the message of being loud and disrespectful and just ridiculous is teaching your family to be like, well, you know what? Why should I respect you?
Yep.
You want to yell at me? Yep. Yes, we're having a conflict. Conflict doesn't necessarily mean that y'all are fighting and yelling at each other. It could just be a disagreement.
Right.
If you're handling that conflict by yelling and cursing that person out, if you're handling that conflict by, gossiping about the person to other people, or I've heard a lot of people express frustration about how people will go to social media. I think about, we know a specific famous family that have a loud sister in that family.
Yes.
I don't need nobody saying, oh, why you talking about me on listen, girl, you ain't finna sue us. But you loud. The celebrity sister, you're very loud. Y'all probably know who we talking about too.
I'll just say allegedly to cover our behind.
Allegedly, yes, you're allegedly loud. This particular individual will go to social media and post about her siblings.
Yep.
And you're a public figure doing this type of stuff. What are you teaching your family?
Yeah.
You're teaching your family that you're the loudmouth. You're teaching your family that you're the one you're like the drama. You like to go to social media. You cannot handle conflict in a appropriate manner. You cannot handle it in a adult manner. Like, you're just immature.
Yeah. But that person is always constantly trying to say, that's not the way I am. It's TV that's portraying me this way. No, it's you. It's you. It's you. It's you. And she'll never take responsibility for the fact that she behaves that way.
Yeah.
And that the reactions that she get is based upon her shady behavior on social media and in the public eye. It's crazy. Yeah. It's almost demented, but anyway, we don't know names, but there's people out there, that's another thing. Anyways, let me just, mental illness is real.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't even realize that that's what you're fighting with, really. You think you're fighting with that person. You're fighting with a form of mental illness that has been undiagnosed. But sometimes you wonder why people can't see reason. You're just like, God, I could see the what is it? The trees through the fog, or forest through the tree. I don't even know. You know what I mean? You can see clearly. Anyway, you can see clearly through the rainstorm. Yeah. And for some reason they can't. You can have 3 people explain the same thing to them and they still don't get it. They still just want to feel what they feel. There's something behind that is just like some type of traumatic, mental issue. And I'm not saying that to be, malicious or, weird and sarcastic. I'm just saying there's a lot of that going on in families, and it goes undiagnosed. No one, either you don't have the resources or you don't even think about doing that because there's a stigma to going to get help, like we've talked about in previous episodes. But the truth of the matter is that if you don't realize that there's something going on, then you will always be bumping your head up against the wall when you're speaking to certain family members about the way you feel or the way they're treating you. And so I think sometimes you just have to have grace for the mental illness that is undiagnosed within your family. You know who it is. You know which mom, auntie, this and that. They're dealing with bipolar. They flying off the wall. They throwing freaking irons at your head. Something is not right.
Yeah.
but we don't want to say it. We just think that's Black life. But anyway, I digress.
No.
I digress.
That's a juicy subject for sure.
That might have to be a podcast on its own.
Yeah.
That's not Black life. That's just called, terrorists terrorizing your own people. Okay.
Yeah. I like
that, pain and dysfunction.
Yeah. It's pain and dysfunction. And what are you setting boundaries with
and
that
violence,
pain and dysfunction?
Violence.
Yeah.
Nobody should have to throw no hot iron at your head to get you to do what they want. That's called violence.
Yeah, it's abuse.
And abuse. And if it was working, you wouldn't see a lot of the same people that, so used to beat my ass. And you still out here on the street with your skirt hiked up your ass. It didn't do nothing for you. Yeah. You didn't learn anything from the violence. Except for to continue perpetuating it. But anyway, that's another podcast.
Yes.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
No, it's true.
But that takes us into the next part of the way you treat them, the way you treat others, like we were saying.
How you react
to things in your family, conflicts, inappropriate behavior. If your family's being ridiculous or unfair to someone, how you react is so important.
Yes. And do you set clear boundaries is the next important piece. Do you set
clear boundaries? And a lot of times people are not able to do it. Yeah. They're not able to do it. And it's unfortunate. But we have to find ways to do it. Don't just shut down and not say anything at the times in which you should set the clear boundaries. I just want to say that. There's a time to not speak, but there are times when you need to pick up on the times when you have to speak up for yourself to set those boundaries.
Yes.
Yep.
Absolutely. There's so many different examples of how people don't respect boundaries within family. Mm-hmm. We kind of touched on that earlier on when we asked the question of the day. Yeah. You have relatives that feel like they can just say whatever they want to say about your romantic life. You have relatives that feel like they can speak on your sexual life. Like, you're so inappropriate. You have people that are...
what are they saying?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Kiki. What in God's name? You have a family member so much as sexual life? Like what? Can you not any exist? Not you. I'm not you. Well, brunch guest. I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about Kiki. When I say you, I mean just general public people out there. But I'm just saying, could you give an example? Like, what kind of things that people? What are they saying about somebody's sexual life? That's insane. Yeah. You're not get a bigger D. Like what? Like,
yes, actually, yes. That's actually a perfect example. That I've heard comments like that. I know people that are in relationships, like interracial relationships, who have relatives that make comments about their significant other because they're not a certain race.
Oh, so based on the race, they're assuming that the D may not be big. So they're saying
D may not be. Yes.
Well, I can tell you firsthand experience. Brunch guest, little TMI, but little truth. Let's just. I didn't know I was going to be doing this episode, Kiki. I'm gonna have to dispel some myths out in these streets out here, and y'all know the truth. Get rid of them stereotypes about the big feet. That is a lie. It's not about your fucking feet. I just cussed. I'm so sorry. Christmas and holiday
time. Tell them what it's about. You know what? Are we going to have an episode about this? Because we know it's not about the feet. We know
it ain't about the feet. I've been with. All right, just in case somebody's confused, because a little self-conscious about my voice. Sometimes I feel like I sound like a 5-year-old or something. I'm a Black woman. Black woman. I'm very, 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 very grown up. And I've had a plethora. Lord, I'm not a hoe, but I've had a plethora of D out here in these streets. Different kinds. I have to say it. A woman of a certain age and experience. Now listen, God. I've had more Black men with small D's fill up a lifetime. Small, tiny, not inexistent. And they were tall, they were 6'7". Some of them were big feet, big foot fuckers.
Or maybe they're not fuckers.
They're not fucking well. And they had small D's. I've had short men with bigger D's. Maybe we'll have to cut this part out because I make myself sound like a whole. I swear I'm not getting around in these streets, but I'm just saying.
No, that's not
when I say had, don't mean I slept with them all. A lot of them, they just expose themselves because men like to take dick pics and show women. So that's really what I'm talking about.
Let's make it very clear that
I don't jump on everything. I am a Christian woman. However, I have seen things, even if I have not jumped on those things.
There we go.
Okay, and the white thing that I may have seen were bigger than the black things that I have seen. It's all in the hands. The finger exactly length and width and girth. It's not about feet. So that
just learned an important lesson, y'all.
Let's put it down and just make it sure. And if there's men listening out there, I'm looking at your hands, baby.
And listen, because we know we be looking at the hands.
I'm not looking at feet. Because shorter guys that don't have big feet, guys that wearing the same shoe size as me, although for women I practically have bigger feet, but for men it's a smaller shoe size. They had huge things swinging.
We looking at the hands, y'all.
So it's your hands. If you have stubby fingers, that usually correlates to stubby. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying this in a derogatory way because I have, there lots of love out there to the men, no matter what size you are. And the women that love you will stay with you. And if you treat them right, you will find other ways that will please them. And a lot of the time when people are thinking about PP sizes and stuff, a lot of it is mixed up into porn culture and very dysfunctional thinking anyway, because nobody should be seeing everybody's PP except for the person that you love. That is my opinion. Your PP shouldn't just be all the way around for anyone to judge it anyway. But I just want to say a family member, sorry, we're getting back to the topic here. A family member that is commenting on your significant other's D, no matter what size it is all the way out of order.
They're ridiculous. They're out of
Nobody
order.
Should know what you have, and what you have is your business.
And they don't even know. Like, they're just assuming. And the reality is, like, you're making assumptions based on what? Nothing. Because half the time these relatives could be with somebody who have a big thing and that thing ain't swinging. And somebody could be with somebody with a small thing and that thing, he know what he do with that little thing. So, going back to the point of it's really about what you do. Doesn't matter what your size is. Right. You putting it down in your woman. Be proud of how you putting down. That's Absolutely. That. But it really is just about the fact that nobody should even be talking about.
That's my whole point.
About your size. This is for the men that are listening.
Yeah.
If you are experiencing having a significant other who has a relative that may make comments about you, that's out of line.
That's inappropriate. Height.
Skin color, height, hair texture.
None of that. All of that.
Employment status. Nobody should be talking about you.
Yes.
Your significant other's relative should not be talking about you to your significant other.
Yeah.
That's inappropriate. It's out of line. It's toxic.
Yeah.
And it goes back to the setting clear boundaries. Like, yes, that relative should not be talking about you, but because you're a person that's technically the outsider and your significant other should set boundaries to make sure that that person doesn't continue to disrespect you and their relationship as well.
Yes.
And that's how you teach your family to treat you.
Yes.
By making sure that, hey, my name is Susie for the sake of this conversation. As Susie, if I have an auntie that's disrespected my significant other, I need to check you.
Yeah.
And checking you doesn't mean I have to curse you out.
No.
Checking you means that I need to let you know, like, that don't talk about my husband, don't talk about my boyfriend, don't talk about my baby daddy, whatever you want to say. Do not talk about him, or the reverse, talk about my wife. Don't disrespect her. That's my significant other. That's my partner. Even when it comes to your children, There are a lot of people who don't respect your child because of who their parent is, whether it's you or the other parent. You have to set clear boundaries on the fact that you do not allow people to disrespect your kids.
Yep.
You don't allow people to break your children's spirit.
Yep.
You set the boundaries. You
Absolutely.
set the boundaries for yourself and all the people that are connected to you, who you love, that are technically victims in situations like this.
Yes. Yes. And like
and then
you
if you're
said,
not
yep.
doing that, you got to ask yourself, well, why aren't you setting these clear boundaries?
Yeah, why aren't you setting these clear boundaries? And if it's the significant other that is leaking your business to this toxic family member, then I think that's something that needs to be checked. And I like how you said checked. Checking is not cursing, yelling, and acting crazy where no one gets the message that you're trying to come across.
Yeah.
But it's expressing yourself in a very consistent and firm manner and tone in which it is, more likely than not that the person that you are sending this message to, expressing yourself to, will receive what you're saying, whether they like it or not. So,
yeah.
Oh man, I know that there
So
was some TMI in that last one. I'm sorry, brunch guest, but I had to just come out and say it.
Trust me, we're going to have an episode that's probably going to have a lot more TMI. But we really just want y'all to understand that we're not out here dingling bashing.
No.
Doesn't matter what size you got. It's like, that's not the point. The point is nobody should be talking about you and what you have the same way nobody should be talking about a woman's V.
Yeah.
Her vag. Let's just call it a vag. I don't like the way V's sound. Nobody should be talking about your significant other's vag. Oh, it's probably loose because she done had all these kids, or she probably don't know what she's doing because she's a virgin. Like, all these inappropriate conversations that people may be having when they're crossing boundaries, like, you just, it should be shut all the way down.
It should be shut all the way down.
Don't talk about my vag.
Thanks.
Don't talk about my man's dingling. Don't talk about my hair texture. Don't talk about my skin color. Don't accuse me of being from Mexico. Don't.
Kiki.
Insider, guys. Y'all don't know about that one. Don't accuse me of being from Mexico. Don't say that my significant other is ugly because of skin complexion color, or anything like that. Height. Don't do that. Set the boundaries and be respectful. People need to know how to respect you and respect the people that are associated with you, because the reality is you do build your own family. We talked about it at the beginning. Yeah. It's who you end up, you have your immediate family, your distant relatives, your stranger relatives, and you have the family that you create.
Right.
You have to protect the family that you create sometimes from the family that you were born into.
Thank you. Absolutely. And that is a great segue into the next one. And I love how you set this up, Kiki. Blood is thicker than water, but peace is more important than blood.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. Do not allow yourself to become hostage to the belief that you must deal with disrespect just because someone is your family member.
Yeah.
And forgiveness doesn't mean things go back to normal. Please, please, please elaborate on that some more with us, Kiki.
Just because I choose to forgive you doesn't mean that, let's say that you completely, I can't even think of an example, but something that was private information of mine. If I have a relative that just spreads that information to other relatives, and you choose to apologize to me, I can say I forgive you.
Right.
But the forgiveness is more so for me, so that I can have my peace. But that doesn't mean that I trust you the same way that I once trusted you before. Things are not quote unquote normal because I chose to forgive you.
Right. Right. Absolutely. And I know it's like hard sometimes because, like you said, sometimes the forgiveness is for you. And sometimes people feel like, well, if I forgive them, I'm forgiving that person. No. It doesn't mean that you have to be like all smiley with that person or whatever. No.
Yeah.
You don't have to take that person in, engage with that person the way you did before, because there's a lack of trust now, even if you are giving them the grace to say, I know that they're human and they make mistakes. So you're fine. I realize you're a human. You have made a mistake. You've made a transgression, against me. I'm going to have a forgiving heart and try not to hold against you. I could probably still be cordial to you and say hi to you, but it does not mean I'm going to be like, ha, ha, he, taking stuff from you. No, 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 no. We don't need to do all of that. That to me is like, no. Sometimes you might go back to that, but it may take time.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to go back to that way of dealing with one another.
Absolutely. And allow people to love you from a distance if you wrong them.
Yeah.
Let them get to that point where they can feel comfortable with you again. You don't have the right to just say, well, you are supposed to be cool with me again because you're my cousin.
No.
Because you're my sister, because you're my brother. No, it doesn't work like that. You're a human being, just like a stranger in the street. If a stranger in the street slapped me in my face, I'm going to feel some type of way.
Yeah.
You slap me in my face, I'm going to feel some type of way. It doesn't matter if you're my relative.
Exactly.
The disrespect is disrespect. It doesn't change because you're family. You're supposed to actually respect me more because I'm your family. Not feel like you should get away with disrespect more because you're my family. And that's the problem that's toxic in a lot of families.
Yeah. And one of the things that I really, really like that when I think about like my mom and certain things that she made sure that we did, certain things that seem very, 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 very simple. If you borrowed $1 from your sibling, she will make sure that you paid it back.
There we go.
She herself would make sure that she would pay us back. If it was like a $5 or this or that or something like that. There was a lesson there to say, it doesn't matter if you're family. You need to have that respect so that it doesn't turn into something later where the person feels like you're taking advantage of me. You disrespected me or whatever. It's like a silent lesson because it's like you just need to understand. Don't play around with that, especially when it comes to like money and stuff. Don't play around with stuff like that. You see people, family members fall out over money all the time. So
that's really dope.
Yeah. So I think that's something that a lot of people, they overlook. And I see it in other, friends and stuff of mine where it's like, oh I grew up and my sister was always stealing from me. My brother was always taking money from me. My this and that. And it's just like, some people just feel like, oh, well, it's my sister. I just have a right to do it. No, you freaking don't. No, you do not.
No, you do not. You cannot steal $5 from your relative. You also can't steal your cousin's ex-girlfriend. Like, you can't do this weird stuff. Like, just stop being weird. Stop trying to like justify weird behavior because you're family.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's like saying, and I'm about to touch on something that's a little bit deeper that maybe we don't even have the time for it.
Let's try.
But it's this attitude of like, you know what, because you're my family, you're supposed to be able to get away with stuff. It's the reason why a lot of young men and women are dealing with sexual abuse in their family, because people are just like, you know what, that's your uncle, that's your auntie, that's your, because let's be clear, it's not just one-sided. Sexual abuse is not just only coming from men. It comes from also from women. And there's this attitude, well, but that's your uncle, don't say nothing, you're going to cause problems in the family. Forget all of that.
Absolutely.
Stop allowing disrespect to be the standard of family because you're family. Respect is the standard. And first of all, I'm a firm believer of disrespect is earned, not respect. You're supposed to give people respect from the jump. A person can earn disrespect if they're coming off a certain type of way and they're disrespecting you. But to sit there and try to make it seem like, oh no, don't do this because you're going to cause issues in the family. And no, that person earned the issue by being just violating.
Yeah, exactly. And it's sad and just straight up disgusting how many family members, from parents to siblings to uncles to auntie, will turn a blind eye just because it's a family member, and for different reasons. They don't want it to get out. They want to keep it a secret. So that child or that person should be living their whole life in anguish because you don't want to stir the pot with some other family or family member, or you want to keep on getting money from that person or whatever benefits that you're getting from them. It's sick.
It is.
It's sick. And if you're out there and you know, are someone who has been dealing with that, deal with it no longer. Know that you are free to speak your mind now. And if these people are still in your life, and whether your parents are still connected to them, mother, father, whoever is still connected to them, people, let it be known. You keep talking to them, that means that you approve of what that person did to me. You're going to have to get the strength inside of yourself to open up your mouth and say that to them. I don't care if it's your mother. If it's your mother and your mother's brother abuse you, you let her know. You keep talking to Uncle so-and-so, you approve of what Uncle so-and-so said to me, and I have no respect for you. You're going to have to learn how to open up your mouth, because that's what's going to help you to heal. Keeping it a secret and keeping it a silent inside yourself is killing you, and you don't even know it. Half the time, a lot of the decisions that are being made by certain people who have dealt with this type of abuse, they don't understand how it's affecting their life as an adult. And it's time for you to get the strength to open up your mouth and speak out against it, because you're grown now and you have a choice to do so. I just have to get on the soapbox right now and say that, because I really need people to understand that they are more free than they think they are.
Yes. Yes.
So like you said, the blood is thicker than is thicker than water, but peace is more important than blood. Peace is more important than blood. Let me repeat it one more time so it's sinking to your brain. Peace is more important than blood. Peace overall. It doesn't matter if they don't talk to you anymore. Who cares? Who cares about that relationship when your peace is disturbed?
Yes.
And when your peace is disturbed, your children's peace will be disturbed. Your partner's peace will be disturbed because you never got it freaking back.
Absolutely.
Some people never had it ever.
Never, ever. And at the end of the day, my job and all of our jobs as an individual is to make sure that we have peace within. If somebody is trying to tell you, oh, let's keep the peace with everyone else.
That right there, that person who opened up their mouth to say that need a slap.
Yes. Nobody should encourage you to try to keep the peace with everyone else and not encourage you to keep the peace with them.
Thank you.
And that's why we don't want you to let the word family trick you into thinking you must forget what a relative has done to hurt you.
Hello.
We don't want that. In the sense of, and when we say we don't want you to forget, we're not saying we want you to, like you said in a previous episode, we're not saying we want you to re-traumatize yourself.
No.
But we want you to be able to know how to treat people accordingly based on what they've done.
Yes.
Treat people accordingly based on what they've done to wrong you. Especially when we're talking about extreme violation, especially when we're talking about people that don't, relatives, and we're talking about relatives that don't show remorse for what they've done.
Absolutely. It's disgusting, and I think I'm just fed up. So forgive my passion, brunch guests, but it's necessary sometimes.
It is. It's very necessary.
Come out of the shadows with this.
Yes.
You deserve it. You deserve peace and freedom.
You do. And we also don't want you to walk away feeling like the word family means that you do not deserve an apology.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have moments where people just kind of come back after some argument, and they'll just see you at the next event and try to hug you like, hey, and they didn't even apologize. But the attitude is, well, I'm your family, so it's all good. We family. That's what family does. No, you still owe me an apology.
Yes. And one thing I just want to add is sometimes you have to give yourself closure.
Yes.
You may not get an apology, but you still deserve one, but you may not get one.
Yes.
You may not get that family member to admit anything, even if they don't say that they're sorry. That family member may never be arrested or brought to justice for what they have done to you. You may still, even in the midst of it, have to find your peace by giving yourself closure. And there's many different ways that can be done. You might have to write a letter. You know, I've suggested this to people many times. Write a letter to that person, you know, and, you know, if, you know, whatever, no matter what your religion is, some of you might want to pray over it after you read it out loud to yourself. And then maybe after you burn it or you put it somewhere, throw it out, you say, all right, now it's over. And symbolically give yourself closure over something.
Symbolically give yourself the apology.
Yes. Sometimes it has to be done that way because some people will never come around and say, I wronged you. Your mother may never come around and say, I was wrong for doing what I did, saying what I said, letting that person be around you, knowing that they harmed you. They may never do that. And you have to find peace within yourself with that. You will have to find your own closure with that because we can't force people to see the right way of being and treating us.
Yes.
But we have to learn how to treat ourselves. Go ahead.
And even though we know that some people may not be able to, some people may not apologize to you. The real thing is that we don't want you to ever feel like you don't deserve it, though.
Exactly.
You may not get it, but don't let the word family trick you into not feeling like you are somebody that deserves to be apologized to.
Right.
Because when you walk around feeling like you don't deserve an apology, then you're just somebody who is a willing recipient of the abuse, because it's like, whatever.
Yeah.
This person, I don't need an apology. It's fine. It's fine. It's okay. No, that's not what we want. We don't want that for you.
Yeah. And to me, that's just another way of re-traumatizing yourself.
Yes.
Denial, constantly denying and constantly trying to sweep things under the rug and push it down, and the fakeness when you are around that same family member because it's a holiday, so I'll just push it under the rug. All of that is constantly having you re-traumatize yourself.
Yes.
Well,
and if you could get to that point in your family where you could have healthy communication, have family forums. I know my stepmother used to lead family forums within the family. Like, we would just talk about what is something that's bothering us. If y'all could get to a point where, if this means that you have to go to family therapy, go to church or whatever, religious leader, have somebody that's, or just have the matriarch or the patriarch of the family, whoever, grandma, grandpa, mom, dad, if they're in a healthy space to have these forums, to have healthy conversation, try to do that if you can. Because sometimes it's just a matter of family need to actually get together and talk. Family need to not always get together when there's a funeral. Family need to get together when there is more, not even just when it's a graduation either.
Graduation, just family barbecue, weddings, you show up for that, but you won't do other activities.
You won't show up for healing.
Yeah, exactly.
Show up for the healing the way you show up for the graduation. Show up for the healing the way that you show up for the wedding, the baby shower.
Yep.
The birthday party.
Yep.
Because you're family 365 days of the year. You're not family just on one day or a few days.
Or for photo ops.
For photo ops. And I have a big issue with the photo ops in my personal life. Get out of my face trying to show up just to take pictures to post on social media.
Thank you.
If you're not checking in on me, you're not checking in on my children, my relatives, my cousins, my brothers, my sisters, or whatever it is. If you're not checking in on us on regular, please do not hit me up trying to get a picture so that you could post it. I don't got time for that. That is rude.
Yeah.
Family is family all the time. Show up for all the moments that matter.
Yes.
Heal. This episode is about healing.
Yes. Absolutely.
Breaking generational curses.
Yes.
Preparing the future generation.
Absolutely.
Patterns. Yes.
And it's just so important that we do this because, and I look forward to the next series that we are, working on right now for you guys, which will be dealing with things that we want youngsters, the future generation, to know.
Yes.
And how we can be helpful with the life experiences that we have had and that others have had to change the future through young people. So
yes,
we look forward to doing that. This was a great episode, Kiki.
This was a great episode.
Anything else you want to add? Leave a brunch guest with? We're
gonna have a crazy, freaky episode for only the So we got a little
TMI this episode, but just want to clarify: do not just jump from P to P, D to D. I don't do. Okay, I don't do that. But it doesn't mean I haven't seen some things. Okay.
Oh, you talking about yourself? Oh,
yeah, I'm talking about myself. So
yeah,
just because I've seen some things, so that's why I have to dispel the myths. I'm tired of hearing this crap. About the big feet.
I thought you said you were telling people don't jump from P to P. So I'm like,
don't jump from P to P. But I want to make sure I don't jump from P to P.
Oh yeah. Yes. But we're gonna definitely we have a lot in store.
D to D, because P might be penis is what the P stands for. Penis. I don't do.
Yes, make that very clear.
I take it back to the 90s. Strictly dickly. I don't do. No offense to all of you. There, different strokes for different folks. But for this folk right here, I'm talking about D.
Yes.
Clinical term P. Anyway, you know what I'm saying, brunch guests. Sorry.
Y'all stay tuned for us in 2021 because we're gonna have some fun in 2021.
We're gonna have some fun. We are gonna leave some things behind, like we said in the check-in episode.
Yes.
But we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna move things forward. We're gonna continue to encourage you to move your life forward and to do the things that you need to do for yourself, because you only have one life. A lot of times people forget that. You're not coming back for a do-over, everybody.
No.
You're living it now. You're like that show, Watch What's Happening Live. This is what's happening live right now. You're not going to get a do-over. So staying with this angst in your heart, the pain, the this and that. Yeah, you know what? A lot of things are hard to get over, but it's best that you try, because you're not going to get another chance. It's best that you try. And that's what we're going to get into. More healing, more understanding, and more listening.
More listening.
Mm-hmm.
Partnership,
and really just figuring out how can we do a better job of taking care of one another.
Yes.
So I look forward to 2021. I look forward to us growing. Remember to subscribe, like, comment, share the podcast, share it with your family and friends. We want to hear from you. We want to get your feedback. We take all feedback into consideration. We love it. It helps us to grow as a podcast, as a YouTube channel. And we just want to just be a light in this world, honestly.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much, Kiki.
Thank you, KC. And we'll be seeing you all, our lovely brunch guests, in 2021.
Thanks,
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you all.
We have now come to the end of our brunch, and we want to thank you all for joining us today. We hope you will join us again for some more food and drink for thought, and of course, a lot of laughter. Once again, we encourage you to subscribe, like, comment, and share this podcast. But until next time, make sure your mind is fed, your soul is at peace, and your glass is full of joy.